Welcome back to Cosplay Academy. I am your instructor TK. Today we're going to be dealing with an epoxy clay known as Magic Sculpt. As you see here, we have our resin and our hardener, both of which are in clay form. Now, when I first opened the hardener, it had such a strong ammonia smell that it just killed me initially. But now it's actually really good. It still has a smell to it, but now it's more kind of like what you'd have if you was messing with it's almost kind of sickly sweet, actually. Definitely recommend when doing this to use gloves if possible. Keeps excess dirt and oil off of them, and you can make a lot of different things with it. As you can see here, this is a piece that we're working on for one of our cosplays, but we'll get into that a little bit. I'll go ahead and show you this first. Once the pieces solidify together, this one is going on 7 hours. Basically, once everything is mixed together, you have about 45 minutes, and then it should start curing. After 2 hours, it'll be fairly rigid, and then you want to try to let it go a full day before you go and start working on it. Because as you see, I still have a lot of especially rough edges that I need to trim up on it and just smooth out. Plus, one side is a little bit longer than the other side, so I have to actually cut a centimeter off of the longer sides to match the shorter side, and then go back and trim the pieces down where I need them. But for a moment, I'm going to set that to the side. I'm going to show you how this works. So we're just going to take a glob of the resin, then we're going to take some of the hardener. Now this is a 1-to-1 ratio, so you want them to be about the same size. See, that one's actually a little bit smaller. Yeah. Basically, try to keep them as close as possible. Now, in terms of putting them together, basically we're just going to go and just start kneading them. Which one of the easiest ways that I found. This is wax paper, so it's really temperamental with it. But it peels right off. Now you can see it's starting to take its form. Initially, when you first start doing it, it's going to be really stiff. But constantly playing with it, and it'll slowly come together and get you what you need. Now, you can tell a color difference from fresh to hardened, how it gets darker as it goes. So no biggie on that. Now, it doesn't like to stick to itself once it's already hardened. So you might have to take a different approach if you're already putting it on something that's already solidified like that. Certain plastics and whatnot, you can attach it to it, usually with certain glues and whatnot, and actually have to sand your product down. Occasionally you might have to actually do like drill holes in it and stick the pieces through them and let it cure that way, because with this that's hard, and it's just going to get harder. It'll cure after a total of 24 hours. This has about a, let's see, this has about a 45-minute work time with how it is, and then it should start getting stiffer. You'll notice it's starting to get stiffer as you're using it, so definitely try to get done with your stuff as soon as you can. It will normally take about 2 to 4 hours to completely cure and harden to the point that you can really move it. Make sure you use it on a hard surface, because if you don't, how these are here, you will get those little defects on the back. Now, let's see, what should I make for you? I don't know. I'm not an artist by any means. You're about to get a really rude awakening on that. Now, some of the things that you can do with this is not just as much some of the things that you can do to this is really, really impressive. The more artistic you are, the more you can do with it. If you're wanting to sculpt a piece, for example, what I'm going to do with this one is, after this is done, I'm going to take 1 centimeter off each side to match the other side, off this side to match the other side. I'm going to go back and grind, because once this solidifies, you have to grind it. I'm going to grind this down into more triangular shapes, all one level on it. I'm going to trim these up, smooth out the sides on it and the top, put the point back down here where it's supposed to be, and smooth out the top on it. Once that's done, I'm going to go in and latex mold the whole thing, and take the piece and cast it again in resin. So you can actually use these to make a mold for something else. Now, you can use sculpting tools if you have them. Just make sure to clean them, because, like I said, once this sets, this is actually a rock. I mean, as you saw on these, that's solid, and it's not even fully cured yet. But one of the things that you can do, like with these, is take your piece, like this, for example, and once this cures all the way, we can go back and take a grinding tool, smooth it out, sand it down smooth, mold it, and take, for example, our resin. If we use a clear resin, we can put it in this and come out with a diamond, which, I mean, is kind of lopsided, as you see. If I can just get it to kind of come up more in the form that we need. It does stick to your hands. That's the reason I'm using gloves, so I don't have to worry about extra contamination on it, because then you'll still pick up some stuff on it. Because, I mean, if you could actually see the finer little things you can pick up, it's got some lint and dust from just where I've been moving this wax paper around. This is wax paper I used on this one earlier. I like the wax paper because once it's done, it just peels right off. You're good to go. But you can take it while it's still soft, kind of tap more your corners in. Now, with these pieces, what we'll end up doing is we'll take them, this one I'm going to cast it, and see if I can just make something else out of it after I'm done. But these are good for making like a master mold if you're going to be mass producing a lot of pieces for something. This one in particular I'll be using on a helmet for the Gundam Sandrock from Gundam Wing once I'm done with that. As the helmet that I used in the last episode, this is actually a piece that's going to be going right on top of the forehead with it. The one I originally was going to use for Loki, I'm going to be using it for Sandrock, so I'm going to be using that in upcoming episodes. But I wanted to go ahead and show you with this piece, since I was going to show you on this. Now, you can use this for different projects, different props. I have 5 pounds of the epoxy clay for Magic Sculpt now, 2.5 of the resin, 2.5 of the hardener. So 5 pounds altogether. Now, that might not seem like a lot, but once you actually put it onto something, and you know, it just solidifies, and it's just going to be really heavy if you use all of it. One thing you can do is, I'll be using this actually with another prop for detail work, where I'm going to be converting a Nerf gun over to a laser rifle prop that we're going to be using later. And I'm going to actually use this for some of the finish work on it, attach it to it, mold it to kind of give me more of the fine lines that I'm wanting that I don't have on it. Just to smooth it out, just give it a more scientific space look to it. Then once that's all done, you know, you just sand it down, and you can paint it just like anything else. But definitely you will have to go and take a grinder to it. I'll use a Dremel grinding tool to go in and trim this down, which I'll show you that later on. When I'm working on the helmet, I'll go and actually show you with it. Now, try not to touch it when it's still setting itself, because you will leave your fingerprints and everything on it if that's your final product. But like with mine, like I said, where I'm going to be smoothing this out, I got a few indentions and such on the top of it, so I don't have to worry about that too much. But yeah, this is actually came out a lot better than what I thought. I initially made this one piece and then made the other pieces and connected it into it, just shoving it into it, then taking some new piece and just kind of pushing over top of it. Hence you can see a little bit of the lines from where it's connected together. But on the bottom, it all solidified into one single piece. Nice and smooth. No breaks on it. So I was actually really impressed with that. I thought it would show it separated, but it doesn't. But I'm still not going to push my luck any more than I have to with it. So when I grind it down and everything, I'll try to keep it as minimal as possible. That way it doesn't break apart, and I can go and I can cast the piece a little bit easier. And then my big jewel here, I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with it just yet, but once it solidifies, then I'll go and work from there and see what I got. But this is definitely a wonderful tool to mess with and work with. And like I said, it's got a fast drying time, but you definitely want to give it a full day curing to make sure. And once you're ready to just do something with it, definitely just have fun with it. Now, we have given it to the next day for our piece to go ahead and finish drying and curing. And it's turned out really good, really smooth. Just peeled straight off of the wax paper, just like what we were wanting. And next step is I'm going to have to go and just grind this down and try to smooth it out the way that I need it. Same as the other piece, which I've gone and tried taking a Dremel to just a little bit of it already, and just to see if I can get it down a little bit. And I will tell you that this is hard. I have ground and ground on this one for a good bit, and it's barely put a dent in it. And definitely good stuff. Very, very strong after it's had its day of curing, for sure. For the most part, you don't have to worry about the respirator because it smells not too bad whenever you're playing with, but definitely when you're going and grinding it down, smoothing it out at the end of it, you'll definitely want to wear it with them because there is a massive amount of dust, and even with it, I still got some in my lungs. And I'm a little coffee right now. Let me set this off to the side. And with this, though, I mean, it's been really good. It's very hard. Even the very little thin pieces, it's on there. It's not going anywhere. But it's very versatile. Definitely try to get it as close as possible to what the shape is that you're wanting. While it's still soft, go ahead and hit the soft spots. Curl it, curve it. Once it starts setting up a little bit more, then go back and fix it. Give us a video response back if you have used this product, because I'm kind of curious on what you've made with it. And just show us what you've done. Click the like button so that we know that you actually enjoy this series. And make sure to click the subscribe button if you haven't already so you can keep up to date with all the latest information from us here at Tri-State Otaku. And until next time, class dismissed.